Hi, this is Steve Neff at neffmusic.com, and I have another lesson for you today. This is going to be a cool lesson. So I've been working on this stuff for a while. I did a lesson years ago called, I believe it's called "Playing Outside Altered Pentatonics: 1 Degree of Separation." And in that lesson, I talked about using the regular minor pentatonic scale and then making slight changes to the notes in the scale to come out with some kind of more outside sounds over that tonality. Well, that's been on my mind since I did that lesson. I'm like, even when I did that lesson, I was like, man, this sounds cool. I want to use it more and like milk this for all it's worth. Personally, I want to get as much as I can out of this. So I'm sorry, I'm closing some of my open things. Okay, so basically over the past I don't know 6 months, I've been working on a book on the subject and trying to come up with ways to take these pentatonics and play outside, get kind of a methodical way to get some patterns under your fingers, not so much random. Right now, as then when I did that first lesson, it was more a concept and more randomness. And so I've been working on writing out all these patterns and getting these like cool pentatonic patterns down in every single key, which is pretty awesome. So I'm working on that. But what I thought I would do is kind of give you an introductory lesson to the concept. And in that first lesson, I did 5. Those I believe those 5 are in this lesson too, but there's more. There's 12 pentatonics, and I'm going to show you how to use them and how to practice them and how to think of them. Um, but in case you haven't seen that first lesson, the basic idea is there's the D minor. We're going to be talking about D minor today, but you take the D minor pentatonic, and that is what I call home base. That is like you're safe when you're at home base. When you play those notes, you're safe, you're inside, you're about as inside as you can get on a minor tonality. D, F, A, C are in there, and then there's a G in there. So it's mostly a D minor chord with a G in there somewhere. So um, it's safe. Even the G, there's no half step between the G and another note that would cause tension. So that actually sounds pretty nice too. So and then what we're gonna do. Basically in this lesson we're gonna take that safe home base pentatonic and we're gonna change it one note at a time. At the end, we're going to change more than one note, 2 notes, 3 notes, to get more of an outside sound. And then I'm going to show you, how it sounds against a D minor play along, but also um, how to mix it back with home bass, because I think that's where the real magic happens. Is where you take this outside pentatonic and mix it with the safe pentatonic to create lines that kind of weave in and out. So I'm going to play the D minor pentatonic for you just so you can hear it. Yeah. Turn down my volume.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so that was D minor pentatonic, D, F, G, A, C. Throughout this lesson, you'll hear me once in a while every so often hit a grace note of G sharp to G or G sharp to A. I am doing that to give it a bluesy effect. I'm basically turning the D minor pentatonic into the D blues scale. But I'm not really, you don't hear me laying on the A flat. I'm not playing it as if it were part of the scale. I'm just playing it as a grace note for sort of an inflection. It's just in passing. I'm still mostly thinking minor pentatonic. Okay, so that is called home bass. That's number one. So number two, we were changing one note. We're going to work up the scale, changing one note. In number two, I changed the F to an E. So let's see if you can hear the difference.
1, 2, 3,
Okay. That was all number two. I changed the F to an E. Did you hear the difference? It still sounds very consonant, very nice, but it's got a slightly different sound to it because of that E. That E's the ninth of D minor. So now here's where the cool stuff starts happening is you want to start practicing mixing. So I'm going to mix number two with number one. Number two with home bass. And I'm going to mix it in a random way. I'm not going to do one measure of each, but I'm just going to do it whenever I want to, whenever I think about it. And the goal is just to mix them together. You're improvising. So if I do the same thing, I'll start with number one. Okay, for me, that's where it's really fun because now I'm improvising. I'm choosing where I switch, what I do, where I go. I don't know. I could do that for hours, you know. So that basically what I was doing. I'm thinking number one, number two, number one, number two. The only difference is the F for number one or the E for number two. That's the only difference. Okay, and then you heard me do some fast runs where I was doing number one, number two, changing one note, just experimenting, having fun. Okay, number three. So number three, you might look at number three and go, wait a second, that's got an F sharp in it. You're going to play F sharp over D minor. Well, yes, I am. I expected number three to sound horrible over D minor, but I tried it, and I don't know. I actually love number three over D minor. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me. Maybe you all hear this and think, man, Steve's whack. That does not work. But here's the thing. For me, number 3 has a dominant sound. It's dominant as in it's a dominant sounding line. It sounds like a D7 dominant, but it's also dominant in that it's strong. It's just a very strong line. This is what number 3 sounds like. It's very major, very dominant. So you wouldn't think it would work on a minor groove, but let's try it.
1, 2, 3,
Okay, so I think it works. I think it sounds hip. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but the way I was playing it is extremely important. For the most part, I was getting off those F sharps really quick, going the D or going the G, kind of almost like a grace note, or I was doing the patterns, kind of, which doesn't give you time to like hear that major against. It's kind of giving a hint of major, but when it's that fast, it's like, what's going on? Where at one point in it, I landed on an F sharp really strongly by accident, and then I heard it like, oh, that's clashing. That sounds bad. So you got to be careful with this one. You can't just play F sharp like it's gonna be the best note in the world. So you gotta use it with finesse and kind of like use your ear. Where does it want to go? But I think that's a cool option. Now, here's where it gets even cooler when you mix number 3 with number 1. So why that's cool is because we're giving the F back into the equation. So now it's got F sharp and F. So listen to this one. Too long on the F sharp. Okay, at one point it was too long on the F sharp. I was like, whoops. But there is some cool stuff in there if you practice it and get the sound down and learn to manipulate it. Now, number 4 is very similar, and it's got a G flat. I flatted the G to a G flat, which is the same as F sharp. So you would think it has a very similar sound, but it's very different, very unique, and because it has the minor third and the major third, and like listen to how I treat it with the minor third and major third together. I'm going to get off that G flat really quickly. I'm going to use it for tension, but then get off it. So let me play that for you. And then I'm going to mix it too. I'm going to play it for a while, and then I'm going to start mixing it with number 1, home bass.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Start mixing it. All right, that one was cool. I actually first got that from Kenny Garrett. He played, I think it was Human Nature. He played a solo, F sharp minor, playing a solo, and then all of a sudden he starts throwing A sharps or B flats in there, the major third, and I was like, it sounded like the coolest thing I ever heard. So that's kind of the idea there. Okay, number 5. So number 5, I'm changing the A to an A flat, which kind of gives it a bluesy sound, because that's sort of like the blues scale, but it's missing a note. It's missing the A, so it's sort of like the blues scale, but with that missing note, it's like, what's going on? Like it's more space in it, and it just sounds a bit more modern and hipper to me. So this is number 5. And then I'll tell you when I start mixing it with home bass.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, now I'm going to mix it. started getting a little out of focus at the ends, playing more chromatics. Apologize for that. But that was 99% going back and forth between 5 and 1. And what I haven't been doing, which I also do when I practice these, is I go between each of them. Like I might go 5, I might do 5 for a little bit, then I morph into 6, and then I go to 1. 1 again is home base, so if I want to take it inside, I go to home base. But sometimes taking it outside, I'll just kind of go between 2 of them and then take it to home base, if that makes sense. Okay, number 6, very classic jazz sound. Oh, let me talk about the names. Number 6, I'm calling the major 6 altered pentatonic because it has a major 6 in it. I had no idea what to call these, so some of these names might be a little bizarre to you, but I want to just at least describe. So number 6 is the major 6 altered pentatonic. I changed the C to a B, which is the 6th of D minor. But let's go back. Number 5, I call the minor flat 5 altered pentatonic. So it's got a flat 5 in it. That's basically why I call it flat 5 altered pentatonic. Number 4, I call the minor major 3rd altered pentatonic because it's got a minor 3rd and a major 3rd in it. The F and G flat or F sharp. Number 3, I call the major 3rd altered pentatonic because the minor 3rds change to major 3rd. Number 2, I call the major 2nd altered pentatonic. And number 1 is minor pentatonic, home base. Okay? So let's go back to, I'll talk about each name as I continue to go on because some of them are more confusing than others. So number 6, so let me do that one for you. And I'm going to mix it up at the end.
1, 2, 3,
Mix them up. So here's regular, home base. Sorry, the sun's starting to come in there. You're getting the sunshine. Okay, so that was mixing up the major 6 altered pentatonic with home bass. Now we're going to do the minor major 7th altered pentatonic. This one is one of the hippest of this whole sheet. So I love it. Number 7 is I'm replacing the D with a D flat, and that's it. Yeah. So the reason I call it minor major 7th is because it has the regular minor 7th, C, and it has the major 7th, C sharp or D flat. I put it as D flat, but it would be C sharp for D minor. But it's the same thing. It looks better as D flat. So this one has no root. D's the root. There's no D in this. This sounds pretty cool. It sounds out. But where the magic happens is when you start intermixing it with home bass. Oh, I'm already down. So let me do this for you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now I'm going to mix them. Turn the volume up this time. Oh, okay, the sun went away. That was making me hot. Okay, so that was number 7 mixed with home bass. So now we're going to do number 8. Now number 8's a new one. It was interesting. Like I tried some other ones. There's a lot more of these than I even have written here, but I tried some other ones that I didn't like, so I didn't include them in here. But for some reason, I thought number 8 was kind of cool. One of the ones I didn't put in here was changing the A, the 5th, to B flat. I hated that one. Couldn't make it work. I was like, nope, this isn't going on the sheet. But this one works. Number 8, very interesting sound. We changed the F to an E flat, and all the other notes are the same.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now I'm going to combine it with home bass. All right, that one's pretty cool. It's so you can, I don't know if you can hear it, but for me there's potential in these, and that's why I'm writing the book, because right now I've been just using these as raw, like improv stuff. Like I'm like playing it over like something, and I use these a lot, but it's not like concrete patterns. So in my mind, how I envision the book is these awesome, cool pentatonic patterns, you know, that we get down like, but then with all these variations down, that line's going to be killing. So that's what I'm working on. Okay, so that was number 8. Number 9, oh, and I call number 8 the flat 2 altered pentatonic because it has the flat 2 in it. Now we're going to start getting more outside. So number 9, I call the 5/7 flat 9 altered pentatonic. Why do I call it that? Well, if you look at those notes, they outline A7 flat 9, which is the 5 of D minor. So I'm starting on C sharp, but C sharp, E, G, and A is A7, and B flat's the flat 9. So basically, by alternating between D minor and this pentatonic, I'm alternating between A7 flat 9, the 5, and minor, which I have some lessons on. So I think that's pretty cool. So let me show that to you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So when I just played that, you can hear that I was gravitating towards the A. The A is the only chord tone in that scale. So you heard me play it, and it was sort of like tension, 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 A. It sounds good. So, I mean, I'm not going to keep playing with this scale because it's going to be really outside. But right now I'm going to demonstrate combining, okay? And go slow at first. I'm kind of going speedy at times, but try going slow. So
1,
I'm going to
2,
go minor.
3,
There's definitely possibilities there. I just gotta get it down. So right now I play that 5/7 flat 9 a lot, but I have like certain licks I play. You heard some of those in there, but where I was having trouble when I was trying to think of that as the pentatonic with the pentatonic patterns, and that's why I'm writing the book, because I want to get the patterns down with these different pentatonics. So that one was a little shaky on the pentatonics, but I think you could hear the potential there. Now, number 10, you're going to kill me with these names, but this is the 5/7 flat 5 flat 13 altered pentatonic parentheses almost whole tone pentatonic. Okay, so why did I call it that? Well, if you look at it, there's an A and C sharp in it. If you think of it as the 5, it's A, 7 with a flat 5, flat 13 in it, because that's what it is. The E flat's the flat 5, the F's the flat 13, the G's the flat 7. If you look at the notes, it's basically a whole tone scale minus the B. So that's why I call it almost whole tone. And when you use it, it sounds a lot like a whole tone scale. So let me do that one for you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So in a way, it's like I'm playing D minor and kind of going up a half step and playing whole tone without the B. I love that one. That's one of my favorites also. And you hear me do a lot of these repetitive things. That's what I love doing. Like I love doing a repetitive thing with the regular home bass pentatonic and then changing the notes to fit the out one. It just sounds awesome. So this is, I don't know, for me this is a cool way to approach playing out and in an outside manner. Kind of a logical method to work on it. Okay, number 11. Wow, we're going long. Number 11 is the flat 2 dominant 9 pentatonic, right? It's kind of a headache to think about. But D minor, this is basically an E flat 7, flat 9. Okay, so D minor, we're going to be playing this pentatonic. E flat dominant 9. Did I say flat 9? I didn't. If I did, I didn't mean it. It's E flat dominant 9. E flat G, B flat, D flat, F. No flat 9. So this takes it out by a half step. Which is a cool sound.
2, 3, 4.
Hear how out that is? I'm going to combine them because it's so... See, there we go. That sounds cool. there was some cool things in there. There were some things I was thinking that I was having trouble pulling off, making it sound smooth. But where do you think the E flat outness comes in? Well, if you think about it, the 9 and 10 we're playing with the A7, A7 flat 9, the 5. Then in 10 we're doing the 5 more altered, and then in 11 what are we doing? E flat 7 with a E flat 9, which is the tritone of A. Okay, so it's sort of like we're still thinking the 5 chord, but we're doing a tritone substitution of the 5. Very cool. So once we start working on these patterns, it's going to sound killer. Okay, number 12 has, what is it? Flat 7 dominant, flat 9 pentatonic. So the flat 7 of D minor is C. So now we're doing a C7 flat 9. We're thinking C7 flat 9 over D minor. So it has C, E, G, B flat, C sharp, or D flat. So let's see what this sounds like.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Very out. The only inside note is basically C. I'm going to combine them with home bass. Okay, so yeah, that one sounds cool too. They all sound slightly different, and some of them sound a little bit alike, but they each have their own kind of vibe going and personality. You heard me doing there one of the patterns, like I was trying to intermingle them back and forth. You heard me going. I was going the pattern twice with number 1, twice with 12, twice with number 1, twice with 12. So that's the kind of patterns I'm going to try to like refine and get in the book, hopefully, that we can all work on once the book is done. So I don't know, I'm excited about this. This is like a new way to play outside and to kind of think of I think a lot of times the problem with playing outside is a lot of intermediate players will go too far. Instead of just playing in D minor and changing 1 or 2 notes, they go to a completely different key. They start playing 3 tonic system Coltrane stuff, and it just sounds too contrived and too outside and that kind of thing. So I think this is a way to, and I think the other cool thing about this is it works your ears. Like for me, when I'm working on this, I'm like hearing different things and discovering new things as I do it. So, okay, so that's basically the introductory to the new altered pentatonic lesson. And so, get a head start on this, start working on it. And, when the book comes out, hopefully not too long, then you already have a head start on it, and you can get the book and really hit the ground running. I hope you like these as much as I do. I think they're awesome, and I use it on jazz, but I also use it on, funk stuff and all that. Just, you know, in the kind of gig where you can take it a little bit outside. These are perfect, and they're enough that like other people in the band, like I've had people in the band come up to me and like, dude, what were you playing on that last solo? Like, that you just were kind of going outside. What were you thinking? Was that a substitution? Was that? And I'm like, really can't talk about it. It's an altered pentatonic, but all right. So enjoy the lesson, work hard, practice hard, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.